Good evening. Thank you all for joining us this evening. If you'll all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I forgot to call Mr. Okay. Okay, item number 3, district report. Ms. Macias.
President Nájera, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board. I'm here to share with you projected enrollment for the East Lake feeder pattern. We are the district of choice, destination district like Dr. Espinosa states. This past year from 17-18 to 18-19, we had a 5% growth. So that's over 350 students in that East Lake feeder pattern. And that growth is going to continue. I have Mr. Juan Jaime here with me, and with our projections, we currently have this year 288 single-family homes that have been filed for the Desert Wind feeder pattern, which is east of Horizon Boulevard, which is that Walmart area, and right across from the hospital, right east of them. And we have 802 single-family homes filed in the Sioux Shook area, which is 365 degrees of Sioux Shook, north, south, east, and west. So with that, we also have homes that are coming in under review. That means we're going to start seeing those little ones, of course, within 2 to 3 years. So these are the projections that we have and that we're working with so that we could ensure that our facilities are ready for our little ones. This past year, what we've done is we currently have our pre-K hubs. So our recommendation for 2019-2020 is for the East Lake feeder pattern to actually house their pre-Ks individually at the campuses, like we do in the Socorro feeder pattern. What that will do is it'll help us with our overflow. This year we had 121 overflowed little ones in the East Lake feeder pattern. So by having each school house their pre-Ks, that'll give us additional capacity at each campus so that we're not overflowing. So our recommendation for Sioux Shook is that Sioux Shook for next year brings in their pre-K. So that'll be about 110 little ones, doing a one-to-one comparison. So this year we actually have 1,005 students enrolled at Sioux Shook and 45 classrooms specifically designated to our little ones. With projections for 2019-2020 and 2020-21, we would grow to 1,233. What we're trying to do is we're trying to do that 2 more years before, again, Mr. Ironton, elementary 31, middle school 10. So these are perfect numbers for Sioux Shook. And what that'll do is that'll allow us and help us with Horizon Heights, Mission Ridge, and of course, Desert Wind. Currently, we have 6 classrooms, which are in portables, which are 3 double portables. And Mr. Ironton is gonna come up here to share with you administration's recommendation for a modular building. With the portables, again, they do their due diligence. However, when Mr. Ironton was able to share with us about the modular, and as you'll see, they actually have a little hallway, they have restrooms. So as we grow, that's gonna be a perfect solution for what we need for the next 2 years. And I'm gonna pass it over to Mr. Ironton to share with you about the modular.
Thank you, Ms. Macias, President Nájera, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board. Modular buildings, it's one and the same word. It's similar to a portable, but I'll explain kind of what the difference is on a modular building. It's a little bit, I think, better than a portable building, because a portable building, the access to the portables is from the exterior. And when we do a modular configuration, well, this is Sue Shook, and we're looking at, you can see that there are the three portables there. We have actually moved 2 more portables into that site. But we've got plenty of room in the back. Just got confirmation on where we can tie in our sewer line if we go to a modular structure, because the modular structure will have restrooms in those facilities, and the students would not have to come in from the outside to the main building to go to the restrooms like they do currently at Shook. But this is the nominal 14 or 16 classroom modular building, and you can see right down the center of it is a hallway. And then if you look to the center of the building, you'll see restrooms on either side. It'll also include a staff restroom and custodial closet or a mechanical room on either side. The reason this is split, we do have a ramp and a little kind of a entry area to each of the building, but once you're inside, you're going down the main hallway. The reason why we split this is that if they were connected, we would have to sprinkle that building. And by separate them by this amount of 15 feet, I believe is what it is, we don't have to sprinkle the buildings. Similar to what we don't sprinkle our portable buildings. But here are some pictures. Don't pay attention to what they look like from the exterior, but this is actually a charter school in Houston. But look at the middle slide down at the bottom where you have 3. You can see the interior interior hallway, and this particular one has lockers in it. Here's another one where you come into the end of the building, and then you can see that it has computer labs, it has the individual classrooms, and some other spaces in this particular, I think this is in Archer City, Texas. This is a series of multiple portable buildings or modular buildings at Austin High School and Houston ISD. But this is a better picture where you can see that corridor where the classrooms are entered and exit through that main corridor. This one had a little bit larger area for dining and, of course, some science lab, but we would be strictly looking at using them for classrooms. The reason why the portables are a feasible option, we feel like, is that we pay about $100,000 or a little bit more than $100,000 for one portable, which is 2 classrooms. This modular structure for 16 classrooms, we are working to finalize some pricing on that, but we could get this in the neighborhood of $700,000 to $800,000 for 16 classrooms.
Wow.
Now, there are some options that, finance and we can discuss, but that's purchasing them. There are some lease options, there are some other options, but the better, we feel, administration feels, the better option is to purchase them outright. And the need, as Ms. Macias was saying, that the growth in the Shook area and pushing the new middle school and elementary back a little bit because of the land purchase and the property not being able to be prepared for us to start construction in 2020, this is a viable option to give not only the additional classrooms, but it'll give additional classrooms in a more secured environment. Now, you're still going to have to come in and go to the cafeteria and go to
The library.
and gyms and stuff like that. But as far as, going to the restrooms and those type of things, you're confined to these facility. Now, where we were looking, let me go back, and this is a aerial of Shook, and you can see in the kind of I'm facing the screen, the top right-hand corners, we've got a lot of open area there. There is a manhole or a sewer connection down that street, and I think it's called, Suerte? Yeah.
I'm sorry?
The side street, not off of Paso ISD, but there is a side street there that we can tie in our utilities. And my staff has just determined that. What makes that area, I know if I use the pointer, y'all can't see it. What make that area more feasible for it, because the existing 6 classrooms are being occupied now and would be occupied until the end of May. We could have these start moving in as soon as possible.
Mr. Ironton, I'm sorry, Ms. Nahida. I know you're pointing up there, and I'm trying to get a grasp. So I'm looking at this map. To the upper right-hand side, it says parking lot, and then there's a little red dot where it says Dr. Sue Shook Elementary. Where are you saying that you're proposing that these modulars go in?
See the red dot?
And then there's the portables to the left.
Yeah, not where the existing portables are.
Okay.
Right.
It's going to be diagonally from that dot.
Okay, so above where the little thing for the parking lot is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That is actually a fire access loop. The reason why we are thinking this is the optimum location is because we have issues at Shook and we have issues at other schools with drop-off and pickups. This would allow us to create another drop-off area specifically for those 16 classrooms and kind of do what we did here in the current drop-off, where it's next to the cafeteria and stuff. So that gives us a little flexibility as far as drop-off. If we were to put them in the location where the existing portable, the drop-off would be much harder to accomplish.
Mr. Ironton, but that does put them a good ways away from the main campus where their cafeteria and gymnasium doesn't it?
Well, if they walk from the existing portable to the cafeteria and you do that up there, it's about the same distance, but you're inside of a building.
Because the cafeteria's here. When that is it?
Right, it's,
Right. So you go out here and still.
yeah, but they walk inside.
We
versus
would,
outside.
we would have to, do sidewalks and, connections and things like that, and possibly look at entering in there are doors at the back of the cafeteria and stuff and the entrance.
Move the parking lot. Yeah, but I don't know anything about construction. Okay. Okay.
Now, there's some other additional costs that we're still working on. Is we would have to provide the utilities to hook it up and stuff. That's not in that initial cost for
And the
this.
sewer and-
Yeah. So that's some numbers, that cost implications that we are working on. But we feel very confident that we can tie into the existing sewer. We'd have to extend it a little bit. We've got enough invert elevations that can be done.
Okay. Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Gonzalez?
How many of them are we talking about?
Mr. Gonzalez?
Your microphone.
Oh, sorry. How many of these buildings are we talking about?
Well, we're only talking about the one here.
Just one?
Yeah.
And
Big one.
yeah, I know. We're looking at a 2-year period of time.
Well, actually, year and a half before we start construction, 2 years to build, 3.5, maybe 4 years.
So once we get everything built, what happens to the building?
The building, just like a portable, can be moved. And we've got some need for those to be moved in a location that administration has been discussing.
Not on the building itself, do you have egress on both sides of ends of a?
Yes, yes,
You have what?
Egress.
doors.
The exits.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Nahida?
Mr. Nahida?
Mr. Arrington, and do we know who would be housed in these buildings? What would the classrooms be?
Yes, meeting with Ms. Chavira, that would be our 4th and 5th grade.
So the
We
older
have
students.
16, 8, and 8. Right now, those are the numbers with growth that she would be able to accommodate. And that way, it would be by grade level.
Okay. What about security
I like that.
for the buildings? I mean, because it's out in the middle, it's got its separate entrance. I mean, and I guess for that, I wouldn't expect an answer right now because we're just, considering, are we even gonna do this? So, but for me, that would be a concern,
And
are we gonna?
I could share, it's actually more secure than the current portables that we have. Again, it would be behind our area. With portables, right now, each portable has the entrance to the outside. In this case, it's more secure because the entrances are on either side and the classrooms actually open up into the corridor. So for security, in my opinion, these are more secure. If you'd like, I could have Chief and Mr. Castro come and share with you their analysis, but again, there's less entrances.
We would
Go back to the slide where the layout was? I think it's 1 or 2 back. There we go, perfect.
We would also fence it, just like we would fence a portable. If we put additional portables out there, they would be behind the security fence. So they would be fenced and controlled security-wise.
Mr. Arrington, how does the size of these classrooms compare to our standard classrooms?
They're basically the same size.
Same size?
Yes.
Okay. And what about cost to move it, Mr. Arrington? Let's say 4 or 5 years. I know with the portable, what is it, about $5, $6, I don't know, $10,000 to move? Higher? 30?
To move it 5 feet, it costs $20,000, or to move it across town, it costs $20,000 to $30,000.
So would moving this structure be comparable?
Yeah, it would be, I mean, to move this in, they gave us, and we're still working on the numbers and stuff, to purchase the building and to have it set up and everything. The setup was around $140,000 to have it set up.
Yeah.
So
What about durability, Mr. Arrington?
I have not seen these particular units. I am trying to work out a trip to where I can go see some. They are moving some of these to Midland ISD, but they're not set up yet. You saw the pictures, they're in Houston, Archer, and they've been used, We hadn't really used this company yet, but they're on various spy boards and stuff. But we've used some of their other ramps and steps and things like that. Yeah. So I'm fairly confident in the structures and stuff, but I hadn't seen one in person yet.
Mr. Reyna, what about connectivity? I mean, these look like, I don't know what like Wi-Fi access is in a portable, but this looks like a lot bigger structure. Do you anticipate there's going to be any issues there?
No, I mean, we're going to treat it just like a regular portable. We'll run the cable underneath the fiber connection, and then we'll put wireless access points across the building, maybe two or three in each section.
Okay. So I mean, ultimately, it sounds like we need portables or this, and between the two, Mr. Arrington, your preferences, or that you believe that this suits our need, not just student size, even structurally, but even cost-wise, it seems to be benefit on multiple fronts there.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if you look at the 16 classroom layout, you see the kind of the dashed line in between, those are the individual units. It takes 2 of those units to make up the 1 classroom.
Oh, okay.
So you're seeing lines in between. So there's 4 classrooms on one side and 4 on the other, and then same thing on the opposite end. But you're seeing that dashed line that shows where those are the 2 units that come together.
So for simplicity's sake, it's like a double wide.
Yes.
Okay.
And you really, you really can't, it doesn't show a length of it, but you really can't see where they're connected.
Other questions?
Any other questions?
Yes, President Haramay. Mr. Ianton, go to the next slide. This is just for, no, the one where it's got the Sushuk map.
Oh,
Please.
right
There you go. Just, I know you can't see this on this picture, but behind there is, you can't see the rock wall. There's a rock wall there.
yeah, there's,
A rock wall, and you can't see it. There's already homes, right?
that is
There's
correct.
just, you see the road there? There's already homes there, quite a bit of number of homes.
You
already.
can can see the rock wall outline, and that's our property line.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
just FYI.
And then that open area is where we're, suggesting that the location be for this structure.
And that brings me to my question, Ms. Macias. On the numbers that you provided us, we're looking at kindergarten through 3rd grade pretty much staying the same. With 3rd grade even making a drop. With all that new construction going on in that area, does that seem accurate? I mean, I would think the numbers would be up more.
Right. What we did is, what we always do is we do a roll. The reason that the number dropped where you're stating that 3rd grade is because Horizon Heights will bring them home. Sushuk this year helped us with 3rd and 4th grade. They actually opened up sections for us because they were overflowed at Horizon. With bringing the pre-K home, now we have 2 classrooms at Horizon, and Horizon's going to open up a kinder and a 4th. So that's where you saw the drop on the rolls. All the others are rolling from one grade level to another every single year. And the growth projected, I actually added a row specifically for projected growth, which is the second to last row. And that's where I have the projected growth, because what we do is, with the single-family homes coming in, right now, this area is actually at a 0.7%, or about, in 10 years, 0.7 of every home will bring up a little one for us. So that's how we calculated the growth. And with the growth, 50% of them, again, by history, are elementary, 25 middle school, 25 elementary. So I don't know exactly, those 30 little ones coming, if they're going to be 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, kinder.
Okay.
So I just added a line that way, depending on where they come in, we know that we're going to technically need about 2 classrooms. It might be in 4th, it might be in 2nd, it might be in kinder. So that's where I added the row. That way it would be more accurate than putting those numbers into a grade
A
level.
grade, okay, okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 4, new business. Consider approval of new job description for the instructional officer for dual language. Mr. Campoya and Ms. Borrego.
Good evening, President Nájera, Dr. Espinosa, members of the board. What we're bringing forward to you for approval is a job description for instructional officer for dual language. Normally in a regular board meeting, this is on consent agenda. Due to it being a special board meeting, we're presenting it for your approval. I know that we've presented this job description at the HR committee, and I believe it was also presented at the CNA committee. HR has reviewed the job description to make sure that we follow the proper format as we do with any other job description. And Ms. Borrego is here to answer any questions specific to the duties of the position, but we are requesting approval of the job description as presented. And you all should have received a separate cover, the extra job description.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Ms. Borrego or Mr. Campoya, in looking at the job description for instructional officer, we already have instructional officers, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What positions or what do the instructional officers, because this is one specifically for dual language, what do our other instructional officers do?
So they're specific also, because I thought we would just use the job description for IO, myself being new in this position, and they're very specific. So we have instructional officer for elementary reading, elementary math, elementary science, elementary social studies, so those are 4, and then the same for secondary. And it specifically says secondary math, secondary social studies, secondary reading, and secondary science.
Okay, in looking at this job description in comparison to our other instructional officers, they parallel?
Yes.
And what are the big differences in this one?
The big differences are what we discussed last night, starting with 21 in the back is just specific to the actual dual language that they'll be doing. And if you notice, it'll still report to the school improvement officer because they will do the role of instructional officer as well, even though they'll be working with bilingual and with the entire department because they will be developing curriculum and testing and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Any
Motion
other
to
questions?
approve?
Second?
I have a motion by Mr. Nájera, a second by Ms. Rodriguez. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries.
Thank you.
And item number 5, executive session. The meeting is to be closed to consider administrative recommendation for principal position at Waco Elementary School under Texas Government Code Section 551.074. The time is 6:30. Okay, we are back in session. The time is 6:46. Number 6, new business. Consider approval of administrative recommendation. Dr. Espinosa, principal for Waco Elementary.
Yes, President Nájera, members of the board, administration recommends Ms. Daisy Garcia to assume all the roles and the responsibilities as the principal of Waco Elementary.
Motion to approve? Second?
Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Gonzalez and a second by Mr. Nájera. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries. If there's no further business before this board, we are adjourned. The time is 6:47.